The vote had already passed by the time anyone looked at me. Inspector General Vale read the tally from the high dais, mandibles ticking against each number: 41 for seizure, 3 abstentions, none against. Behind it, the chamber's central display lit with a burned signature already arcing away from the anchorage. The Sentinel fleet, underway before the gavel chime finished ringing. 40 minutes to intercept range on Callaway's Reach, a human colony of 11,000, now reclassified under compact law as a quarantine zone pending cleansing. Cleansing was the Synod's word for it, and the Synod was careful never to define it further in open session. I'd read the closed annex once, years ago, when I still believed reading the rules would help. It meant orbital seals over every settlement, atmosphere processors run down on a 48-hour countdown, and a survey team arriving afterward to confirm the vector hadn't survived whatever population it had been riding. 11,000 people. A single flagged report, 3 relays old, and a chamber already murmuring about logistics. Which transports would carry the survey teams? How soon the seized world could be reassigned to a more cooperative species? I sat at the human delegation table and said nothing. Major Calder, Vale's translator collar, gave the words a flat, even cadence that didn't match the satisfaction in its posture. You have heard the finding. Callaway's Reach reported anomalous neural signatures consistent with vector contamination 11 days ago. The Synod has acted. I expect you understand the necessity. I understood it. I'd read the same scan data they had relayed, summarized, 3 translations removed from whatever the original censor had actually recorded. 11,000 people, quarantined and slated for cleansing on the strength of a single flagged report nobody on that colony had been told about. I understand the finding, I said. Vale's eye cluster shifted, the whole chamber's attention sliding sideways with it, waiting for the rest. The plea, the objection, the long human speech they'd all sat through before, the kind that bought nothing and changed nothing and let everyone feel they'd been heard before voting the same way regardless. I reached under the table instead and set a sealed case on it. Gray composite compact manufacture, the kind issued to every signatory's medical corps under Annex 12, the old emergency decontamination protocol, the one nobody had invoked in 40 years because nobody remembered it was still binding. I broke the seal. Inside, a data spindle, a sample slide, and a stamped certification chit. Callaway's Reach logged its first anomalous reading 23 days ago, I said. Not 11, 23. Colony Medical flagged at the same hour under Annex 12, Paragraph 4, any signatory may initiate full decontamination on suspected vector contact without waiting for Synod confirmation. They ran it. Full colony sweep, 3 days, every structure and every person screened twice. Completed 19 days ago. That's the certification. Counselor Thren's nearest hand stopped halfway to the case. Annex 12 has not been formally invoked by any signatory since before this Synod's current charter. You're asking this body to accept a unilateral human certification, self-issued, with no independent verification, as grounds to reverse a past seizure order. I'm not asking you to accept anything, I said. The certification chit is keyed to compact registry, not human registry. Run it through your own bench. If it's forged, the registry will reject it in under a second. If it isn't, you'll have your independent verification in the same second. Thren looked at Vale. Vale's eye cluster dipped, once permission or impatience or both, and Thren pulled the case the rest of the way across the table. A pause moved through the chamber, not silence exactly. The low chittering, the rustle of robes and chitin, the murmur of 44 translator collars all slightly out of sync, dying down at slightly different speeds, like a held breath with edges. Then the reading that reached this Synod, Vale said slowly, was 11 days old, after the colony's own decontamination was already complete. Yes, which means the colony has been clean for 8 days before this body ever voted. Yes. Counselor Thren, four-armed, robed in the pale gray of the record's bench, had already pulled the case toward itself and was running the sample slide through a bench scanner with two of its four hands while the other two scrolled the certification chit's data trail. The reading that triggered our review, it said, not looking up, came through relay vessel Allen's yard. Compact registry, decontamination survey configuration. It was the unit that physically retrieved Callaway's reaches, scanned logs for transmission to this Senate. Then it would have aborted, Vale said, a copy of the colony's own clearance data, showing the colony clean. It does, dated 19 days ago as the major states. Thren's third hand kept moving across the display, and its voice changed register, not louder, just tighter, the words coming faster. But the reading that triggered our review is dated 11 days ago, 8 days after the colony's clearance, logged not from the colony's sensors, from Allen's yard's own internal hull array. The chamber's murmur stopped being a murmur. Its own array, Vale repeated. The anomalous signature did not originate at Callaway's reach, Thren said. It originated aboard the relay vessel itself, 8 days after that vessel left the colony clean and began its return transit. A fourth hand pulled up the transit log in full. Its route home was not direct. 2 scheduled resupply stops, the Hesker Way Station and the Vaint Trade Concourse, both compact member facilities. Both received standard cargo transfers from Allen's yard during the same 8-day window in which the vessel was carrying an active signature. It had not yet reported to anyone. Nobody asked what active meant. Nobody had to. The word sat in the chamber the way a dropped weapon sits on a floor, everyone looking at it, no one yet willing to be the one standing closest. I had read the same report Thren was reading. I'd had it for 6 hours. I had not said anything about it, because saying it before they found it themselves would have been the speech. The long human explanation nobody in this chamber had ever once acted on. So I'd put the case on the table and let the Compact's own instruments tell the Compact what 14 compact decades of paperwork had buried. Vale's eye cluster turned, slow, toward the burn trace still arcing on the display, not toward Callaway's reach anymore. Toward the anchorage, toward home. Allen's yard's current position, Vale said. A junior aide near the comm bench, younger, paler crest. Voice not yet trained flat, pulled the transit log and read it without translating it through the collar first, the words coming out raw and fast in the aide's own tongue before the collar caught up and rendered them a half-second late, stacked on top of each other. It docked 4 hours ago, at the central shipyards. It's been alongside the Flagship's decontamination wing since. Nobody moved for 1 full second. Then everybody did. Vale's mandibles stopped clicking entirely. 3 counselors were on their feet. Thren's 4 hands had stopped scrolling and simply lay flat on the display, as if holding it down would keep the data from being true. Somewhere behind me, a translator collar, badly out of sync, rendered the aide's last line a second time, a half-beat late, into the new silence closing minutes later, and the words sat there in the chamber like something nobody wanted to be the first to touch. A second aide, younger still, was already cross-referencing the way station manifests, and I watched the realization travel down the dais 1 counselor at a time as the cargo lists populated medical resupply crates, transferred from Allen's yard's own hold, now sitting unopened in 2 stations receiving bays, exactly where the Compact's own procurement schedule said they should. Nobody had flagged them. There had been nothing in the paperwork to flag. Recall the fleet, Vale said. Not to the room. To no one, to the display, to the burn trace still arcing toward an empty colony that had done everything right 19 days ago and been quarantined for it anyway. Recall the Sentinel fleet. Redirect to the anchorage. Full lockdown on the Flagship's decontamination wing and quarantine holds on Hesker Way Station and the Vaint Concourse, effective. It already is, I said. Vale's eye cluster came back around to me, slow. Annex 12, paragraph 6, I said. Any signatory's medical corps may initiate emergency lockdown on any compact vessel or cargo lot showing post-clearance anomalous readings, pending Synod review. My counterpart flagged the array data the moment it crossed our desk this morning. The decontamination wing's been sealed for 5 hours. Quarantine notices went out to Hesker and Vaint an hour after that, under your registry in your name, because Annex 12 requires it. Your flagship just docked next to a sealed compartment and didn't know it. 2 of your own stations have been sitting on sealed cargo for most of a day and didn't know it either. I closed the empty case, latched it, and set my hands flat on the table, composed, the way I'd come in. Nobody at the dais spoke. The burn trace on the display had stopped moving altogether, the Sentinel fleet hanging mid-arc between an empty colony and a home anchorage that no longer felt like one. "You've been quarantining the wrong ship for 8 days," I said. "I'd start with the one that's already home."